So what do you recommend old entrepreneurs? Because I got a family, I got all the things which the young guys don't have.
Mm-hmm. So I understand the circumstances. I actually don't think they're any different, right? You have experience. You may have, some wins under your belt. Like you may have different things that they don't have. I'm not worried about what one has, what doesn't have. My question is, what are you asking specifically? Like, what do you want to do?
Well, I jumped, so I did it. I'm going through it.
So you were doing what?
I was marketing director for big companies.
Got it. And you decided to start your own brand.
Correct.
Awesome. And so what's happening?
It's going very well.
Good. So what next?
Yeah, but the thing, sometimes you want to, people around you say, well, you're 48, you're starting your business now. I mean,
sounds like losing players.
Good.
Is that good enough?
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's just, sometimes you doubt yourself, but not doubting yourself.
I get it.
You know what you want to do, but yes, you are 48.
Here's what's happening. It's interesting because you're very interesting to me. Here's why. You either were an entrepreneur and you suppressed it to do the practical thing and work in corporate America, or you were kind of maybe 50-50, right? Like you had safety, but you also, like you had entrepreneurial tendencies. You weren't 100% pure. Like for me, I would die. Like I can't breathe if I'm not entrepreneuring. And I mean, since I was like 9. I mean, that's why I got very bad grades in school. This wasn't, it's cool now. I was disaster in school and the immigrants got A's. That's how you got out, So what's interesting is the reason you're letting outside forces seep in is because when you're 100%, you don't give a fuck. You're crazy to begin with. The whole thing's crazy, right? So if you're in between, I would tell you this, let the results and the way you feel speak. The last people you should be listening to is anybody else. Okay. If you feel it.
No, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, now, if your whole circle, if your spouse, if your parents, if your siblings, if your best friends are all pushing, hey, it can get hard. What I would say is find an outlet for support. Keep hanging out with these people, right? Offset the voices. You need the other voices. Watch content from other people, but it is a blanket, like if you need that. So I don't consume anything because I don't need ideas or reformation or motivation from anything. I keep insular. But if you're feeling it, and I understand because you're practical, right? You feel a huge sense of responsibility. And so you're always thinking, what could go wrong? I would remind you a couple things. Did you have a fairly successful corporate career being a marketer? Good. How long has this been going?
2.5 months.
And how's it going?
Very good.
Good. It sounds like you're just a winner. And so if you happen to lose here, which we all do, I have a funny feeling you're gonna be able to go get a job.
Yeah, yes. But I want this.
No shit, that's why you did it. But you have to understand upside versus downside. The upside is you build a whole life around something you want to do and it's the best. And you make more money and you're happy and you're doing your thing. The downside is the other thing you left. So as long as you're not worried about what everybody says about you losing here, if you have to go back, then you're risking nothing. Yeah.
Thanks.
You got it.
All right, so we have some time, because actually you make time go slowly. People can ask more questions, so if there are...
Yeah.
What do you, talking about content creation and sort of content marketing, when do you think, like you for instance upload a lot of stuff? Like
Yes.
Like when does a lot come?
Too much? Based on how good you are. So it's in parallel with quality. Quantity, axis curve of too much is when you're not good enough. For some reason, the numbers show me that even though I'm saying the same thing over and over, as you guys can tell in here, especially the ones that are closest to me, I'm so improv. It comes so natural to me as a communicator, I can still say it in different ways, paint different pictures, and it makes it interesting. And maybe this analogy finally got you to understand, or maybe that analogy finally got you to understand. It's the reason I continue to do Q&A. Left to my own way, I'm gonna get into the same patterns. When I realized that, I started forcing more of this because you're forcing me into new ideas, new thoughts, teaching me different analogies, right? So it's too much if you have nothing new to say. or nothing new to say, or nothing to say that's relevant in a new way. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't notice how there's not a lot of blog posts for me. I finally figured out my team, they transcribe, and I've got some blog posts of my words, but I'm not a talented communicator in the written word, so I don't do it, right? So you also have to know your skills in communicating. A lot of you have a lot of good ideas. You should be taking them, taking your phone, recording it, and putting it out in the world. Like, you know how a lot of you like have good ideas? Like, first of all, like, the amount of people in here who have a lot of good ideas and aren't even recording it for themselves to use later, they're just letting it. That's really one of the other big reasons I started doing Daily V. I was like, fuck, there's a lot of good shit I'm saying. And I mean for me, not just for you, that I'd like to have. And then it became like, man, all those things I said back in 1996, 1999, 2003, 2000, you think I've got a good thing going now? If I'd been doing this from the beginning, fuck, you would think I did predict the entire, like I fucking, I mean, now there's some things that were wrong. I remember for 4 months I was massively passionate that all email would become video. But that would be fun too. I'd like to, like, you know, like when everybody puts me too high on a pedestal, I'd play that video and be like, what about that? You know, you have to balance, you know? I think the market decides too much. And I think some people have one move, and I think some people have 1 million moves. Just gotta figure out where you sit in that. Some people are better off writing a very thoughtful 10,000 word essay once every 2 months that everybody looks forward to because they're a great writer. You know, you could see I'm fast. Like I can give real business advice. Like I'm really in it. Like I can do this. And shit, a lot of times it's really right too. Like I'm a good entrepreneur, right? But I can't write an amazing 20,000 word expo. Do you know how sad I am I can't do that? Some of my thoughts, I never fully get there. You know, they get to 73%, but I don't have the ability to make it deep enough because I'm just, you know, and so sometimes it takes me 2 or 3 years. Document over create. How many of you heard that from me? Document over create. Great. So that took me a long time to get to. Maybe like 7 years, but it was the thing that really unlocked it for a lot of people. Just for a lot of you, my point on creating content is instead of trying to think what you make, just document everything you're doing. Do you know that 2 or 3 of you, if you just documented the journey of figuring this out, that people would watch your video on YouTube every day of you trying to figure out the school system, and that in itself was what would build your business. Yeah, it's a story, it's the journey of an entrepreneur. The legacy that I'm creating with Daily V, fuck. You know how cool that's gonna be when there's 10 years worth of my everyday? Especially if I pull off very big things. I would love, you know how fun it would be to watch the 3 years before Drake became famous, everything he did? You know how fascinating that is? You know how cool it would be to watch everything, like especially Steve Jobs, perfect. I'm not at that level yet, but I would tell you that I'm in the same place right now. You know, Steve Jobs had Apple, then he got kicked out. Then he had a failure called Next, failure. And then he came back to Apple and it all went crazy, right? Would have been awesome if he did a daily vlog for that last year of Next, that in-between year, and that first year when he launched the iPod. Fuck, we'd all watch it, everybody. So there's a lot, you know, and by the way, even if it never changed your business, do you know how much fun it would be for your granddaughter to watch you do it? Really, think about life. You know how inspiring that would be? She'd be like, damn, grandma was a hustler. I want to be one too. No, really, right? Like, think, you know, you know how much fun it would be for me right now to see my dad making $2 an hour in 1979, waking up at 4:30, driving, working 15 hours in a liquor store and then coming back? That's cool. So, I don't think we think long term enough, what it really means. You know, I look at stuff now, I'm like, oh man, I was so young. Oh shit, I was pretty fat. You know, like you know, it's cool. That's why I do it. Yeah. Yeah, let's do it.
Hi.
Hi.
not 10 years, but 15 years ago, I was lucky enough to invest in Nerds.
Nerds candy?
Nerds, no.
No, what?
Talent.
Nerds! I was like, that's super cool. I love Nerds candy. Got it. Yep.
First of all, also Snack Bites, and started. Thank you for inviting this guy and paying for him. The name of the discussion. In those 15 years, and again, yesterday, I realized that the biggest pains in building up companies are also the biggest assets. What's your biggest pain in your story?
So I want to make sure I'm interpreting your question. The adversities that lead to the successes, or I want to hear, give me an example of one of yours so I can use that as a proxy to give you my answer.
Well, you mentioned about not your family, but your environment. And this old guy, colleague of mine,
Yep.
also shared it. So
Adversity?
yeah, I don't believe that you can become an entrepreneur. Sorry for all those who are dreaming about
I agree.
it.
I think it's a natural.
You are, okay? But besides of that, what I meant is, it's hard. You can't show that you are in pain.
Do you know?
Yesterday I was in pain.
Do you know how many people have committed suicide in the tech startup community in the last 5 years, and there's not a peep about it? Tons.
I don't want to.
I personally know of more than a handful, and I know that I'm not looking for it. I know that Wharton, one of the leading kind of like startup, entrepreneur schools in the US, suicide rate has doubled each year with the growth of this, because entrepreneurship is on the pedestal and everybody thinks it's easy. It's the loneliest, it's his emotion. Like, you know how hard that is? It's on you. There's no blaming anybody. If this wins, you. If this loses, you. That's lonely as fuck. That's why I keep saying, lately I've been saying, you know what the best game is? To be the number 2. You get a lot of the money, you get a lot of the action, but you don't get that, right? Rick, I was just number 2. Rick fucked up. He was the CEO. I was just the COO. I told Rick, Yeah, I mean,
But Gary,
Yes, sir.
to interrupt you, but
Please.
No, you're doing the same thing as the girl. You're dancing around professional. You're okay.
Yeah, so I'll tell you why I'm dancing.
Sorry.
No, I think I appreciate what you did. The reason I'm dancing is because I don't think you know how purebred I really am. I'd be lying to you. I don't want to lie to you. I feel like you deserve an answer, and I don't think I have one for you. 0. The day I stopped being a student, my whole life changed forever. I've never had one bad day. When I'm in pain, I go to sleep for 5 minutes and I wake up the next day and I kiss the world. I don't give a fuck about entrepreneurship. I care about the health of my parents and my children and my wife, and this thing called entrepreneurship is easy as fuck. I'm the best. You understand? So the reason I'm dancing is I didn't want to give you such a ridiculous answer that I know does not map. I'm gonna end up being the guy, my man. Like when it's all said and done, when I die, I'm gonna be on the fucking pedestal at the tippy top. And so that's not everybody. So for me to give that answer is very difficult because I have pain. There's always problems. My brother walked in and said, I quit. I have Crohn's disease, I wanna leave Vaynermedia. It's all on you. That's not fun. That's hard. But it took me 8 seconds to absorb it. And then I started smiling and saying, good. Just who I am. So for me, I was dancing because I can't even give you an answer. Because every day's hard, and that's the best fucking part of it.